Meet Addie, an American Girl. Chapter 1. Whispers of Freedom. Addie Walker woke up late on a summer's night to hear her parents whispering. She thought no more of their quiet voices than of the soft chirping of the crickets in the woods, just beyond the little cabin. Often, she awoke to her parents whispering. Addie liked the sound. It made her feel safe, knowing her mother and father were close by. A small fire glowed in the hearth as the last coals burned down from the fire Mama had used to cook supper. Usually, Addie liked the warm glow of the coals in the darkness. It was the only light in the windowless cabin. But tonight, it just made her hotter. Sweat crawled down her small body like ants. The stiff, dry corn husks stuffing her palate poked through her thin covering, sticking her. Her older brother Sam lay on his own pallet near her feet. Addie could see his dark face in the firelight and hear his regular breathing. Her baby sister Esther lay next to her. Esther's steamy breath was blowing on Addie's face. Addie loved Esther, but it was too hot to be close to her tonight. Addie tried to wiggle away from the baby. When she turned from Esther, her parents stopped talking. "Hush, Ben," Mama said to Papa. "I think Addie woke up." Addie kept her eyes closed, but she could hear the rustle of corn husks when her father got up. His feet softly crossed the dirt floor. She opened her eyes just slightly as his shadow passed over her, covering her and Esther and Sam. Addie felt protected inside of it. She wanted to ask, "Papa, what are you and Mama talking about?" But she kept her mouth shut. When her parents started talking again, she listened. "That child is asleep, Ruth," Papa said to Mama, returning to their pallet. "She tired out. They had the children out in the fields half the day, worming the tobacco plants." "Ben, listen to me," Mama said. Her voice was serious. "I don't think we should run now. The war is going to be over soon, and then we'll be free." "Ruth, I've done told you before, them Union soldiers ain't nowhere near our part of North Carolina. They all the way clear on the other side of the state," Addie's father replied. "Who knows when we're going to be free?" "But Ben, we can't lose nothing by waiting. We all together here. That count for something," Mama argued. "Ruth, it should count, but you know it don't. With this war, times are hard. Money is real tight for the masters. A whole group of slaves was sold off the Gifford plantation because Master Gifford couldn't afford to feed and clothe them," Papa said. "That was Master Gifford. Master Stevens would never sell us. We work hard for him. We do everything he tell us. He need me to do sewing, and you to do his carpenter work." Addie had never heard her mother speak so firmly. "What about Sam?" Papa went on. "I got to drag him off his pallet when the morning work horn sound. He'd get up grumbling about not wanting to work for the master, and he'd take his grumbling out to the fields. He got a hot head and a hot mouth. Sam done run off once, and now he wants to go fight in the war. All he talk about is going north to fight for freedom. If Sam don't watch it, he's going to be getting us all in trouble." Addie didn't like what she heard. She remembered when Sam had run off the year before, shortly before Esther was born. He was tracked down by Master Stephen's dogs and brought back. He was tied to a tree and beaten with a whip by Master Stevens. Addie screamed and cried, but her parents did not. They had blank, empty faces that made Addie angry. When the beating was over, Sam's back was covered with blood. Papa carried him back to the cabin, and Mama and Papa cleaned the blood from him. Finally, Addie yelled at her parents. "Y'all don't care about Sam at all. Y'all not even crying." As soon as she said it, she felt bad. "Come here," her father had said softly. Addie went to him, ashamed to look at his dark, stubbly face. She held her face down, but her father lifted it and wiped away her tears. Just because you don't see us crying and carrying on, don't mean we don't care. It don't mean we ain't crying either. Me and your mama crying on the inside. We ain't always free to show our feelings on the outside. But on the inside, we is free. There's always freedom inside your head, Addie. Freedom. That's what her parents were talking about tonight. But they were talking about a different kind of freedom. They were talking about the kind of freedom a slave had to run away to get. If Sam take off by himself a second time, we might never see him again, Mama said in a worried whisper. I want us all to be together. Papa didn't answer right away. Then he said, Uncle Solomon told me in the field today that there's a set of railroad tracks about 10 miles after the river, near the Gifford place. We follow them north till they cross another set of tracks. Where they cross, there's a white house with red shutters. It's a safe house. An old white woman lived there, named Miss Caroline. She gonna help us. We only gotta get that far, Papa said. In the dark, Addie hugged Janie, the small rag doll Mama had made for her, the doll she slept with every night. Her parents' talk about running away scared her. She had never heard them talk about it before. Whenever Sam talked about escaping, they told him to hush up. If we get caught, Master Stephen's gonna split us up for sure, Mama said, her voice shaky. I figure ain't nothing for sure, answered Papa. But we gotta take our chances while we got 'em. You can't go backing out on me now. I'm not backing out, said Mama. She sounded cross. I'm just scared. You want to go all the way to Philadelphia? I ain't never been no farther away than the Gifford plantation. What if we get lost from each other? We gonna go together, and we gonna stay together. God will watch over us. You gotta believe we're gonna make it north. Papa sounded sure and strong. Addie knew he could protect them no matter what. Let's just wait a little longer. When the war over, we all gonna be free. All of us. Right here, Mama said again. But Papa was firm. I hurt when I see Addie totting heavy water buckets to the fields, or when I see her working there bent over like an old woman. Sam already 15, but she little girl, 9 years old, and smart as they come. She go out in the morning, her eyes all bright and shining with hope. By night she comes stumbling in here so tired she can hardly eat. Esther's still a little baby, but Addie getting beat down every day. I can't stand back and watch it no more. We can't wait for our freedom. We're gonna have to take it. Mama was quiet again. Addie wasn't thinking about the heat of the cabin, her prickly palate, or Esther's hot breath. She was waiting for her mother's answer. None came. She heard her father rise. He went to the hearth and covered the coals with ashes. When Addie heard him lie down, her eyes popped open, but now Addie could see nothing. There was no light in the cabin. In the thick darkness, Addie knew she had heard a secret that she must keep to herself, no matter how hot it burned inside her. She could feel Esther's breath on her back. Turning to face her sister, she moved close and put her arms around her. The baby's breath did not feel too warm now. Addie was glad Esther was on the pallet with her. As Addie fell asleep, the only voices she could hear in the night were those of the crickets in the woods. Chapter 2. Sold. Early the next morning, Addie was in the tobacco field worming the plants. She and the other children moved from row to row, carefully pulling green, wiggling worms from the leaves. The worms were as fat as her fingers, but Addie tried not to think about them. Instead, she dreamed about the kind of freedom Mama and Papa had talked about the night before, the kind slaves ran away for. She saw herself learning to read and write. First, she'd write the names of everybody in her family. She saw herself wearing fancy dresses with lace, nothing like the rough cotton shift she always wore now. Papa would get paid for his work and buy so much food that they would never be hungry. He would buy cloth for her fancy dresses, and Mama would make them for her. By 11 o'clock, the sun was high overhead, and Addie felt as if she'd worked all day. She had just finished warming her rows when it was time for her next chore, taking water to the field hands. The full bucket of water she carried almost pulled her arm from her shoulder. As Addie struggled with the bucket, sweat ran down her dark face and soaked the neck of her shift. But she liked this chore because sometimes she had a chance to see Sam or Papa. On this day, she saw Sam. As usual, he had a riddle for her. "Riddle me this," said Sam. "What's smaller than a dog, but can put a bear on the run?" Addie thought hard as Sam took a dipper from the bucket and poured some water over his head. From a few rows away, the overseer snarled, "That water's for drinking, boy." Addie saw a scowl come over Sam's face. He mumbled, "Even a horse gotta stop and cool off sometime." "I better get on," Addie said, worried that the overseer might come over to them. He carried a whip. "Nah," Sam said, his face softening. He was as tall as Papa, but he was skinny. When he smiled, Sam still looked like a little boy. "I ain't done drinking yet, and you ain't answered my riddle. What's smaller than a dog, but can put a bear on the run?" he repeated. He took a drink while Addie thought. She looked up to see where the overseer was. He had gone off in another direction. Addie crinkled up her eyebrows and said, "A skunk?" "You're right. I don't know about you. You too smart for me, girl. Pretty soon, you're gonna be riddling me," Sam said. "Real soon," said Addie, smiling at her brother. Addie wanted to tell Sam what she had heard their parents talking about the night before, but the escape plan was so daring and dangerous, she could not share it with anyone, not even her brother. If her parents had wanted her and Sam to know, they would have told them. So Addie kept the secret inside and moved down the row to give the next field hand a drink. When the bucket was empty, she headed toward the kitchen to help Auntie Lula serve dinner to Master Stevens. The kitchen was a small brick building behind the big house. Addie hurried there, afraid she might be late. Auntie Lula was ready for Addie to work as soon as she stepped into the building. "Wash your hands good," she said, "and take that tray of food and water to the dining room." "Yes, ma'am," Addie answered. She liked Auntie Lula. She was an old woman, old enough to be Addie's grandmother. Her skin was light and her hair rusted red with a streak of gray. She had a soft, open face, but sharp green eyes that could see right through you. Auntie Lula looked after Addie and her family. She gave them medicine when they were sick. One Christmas, she had made rock candy for Addie and Sam. The dinner Auntie Lula had cooked for Master Stevens smelled so good, Addie ached for a bite of it. All she had had for breakfast was cornmeal mush, and that was all she would have for dinner. Maybe Auntie Lula would hide away a few scraps for Addie to eat today. Addie washed and dried her hands, and then picked up the tray and hurried to the dining room. Master Stevens was sitting at the table, talking with another white man, someone Addie had never seen before. She set the food on the table and poured water for both men. As they began to eat, she took her place standing quietly in the corner. "You got that little girl trained real good," the man said to Master Stevens. "She looks like a smart one." "I got them all trained real good," said Master Stevens. "That's why it's such a shame to let any of them go." Addie's stomach turned when she heard Master Stevens say those words. Let any of them go? She thought. What do you mean, let go? "But I have 22 slaves to clothe and feed this winter," Master Stevens went on. "And you know how hard it is with the war. I need the money." Addie stared at the floor, but she was listening very closely. She let her face go blank and empty. "This boy you got for me," said the man. "How can I be sure he won't run on me too? I know he's run before. I taught him a lesson with the whip the last time he ran off," Master Stevens answered. "And you'll have his father too. His father can control him." They were talking about selling Sam and Papa. Addie just knew they were. Her father had been right. Master Stevens was going to split up her family. "Hey, girl, more water," the strange man said, turning to Addie. Addie hurried to pour him more water. "You sure you don't want to part with this one?" the man asked Master Stevens, patting Addie on the head. Addie's hands shook. She wanted to pull away from his touch, to scream, but the blank look was frozen on her face. She filled the man's glass and started to pour water for Master Stevens. "I'm not looking to sell her," Master Stevens replied. "But I know the price for good house servants is going up every day. Maybe when she's a little older, I'll let her go too. But by then, she might fetch a good price, as good as her brother. She's just too young now." Addie was listening so hard she forgot to pay attention to her task, and filled Master Stevens' glass too full. Water spilled on the table. "See? I told you this one's too young," Master Stevens said to the man. To Addie he said sharply, "Girl, go get a rag and clean up this mess." "Yes, sir," Addie said. She was glad to have a reason to run back to the kitchen. She burst through the door. "Auntie Lula," she panted. "That man fixin' to take Papa and Sam with him. Master Stephen's gonna sell them." Auntie Lula looked worried, but when she spoke, her voice was calm. "If that be true, we don't have much time," Auntie Lula said. "Listen to me good now. Take your bucket and run to the well. Fill the bucket and head right to the fields where your brother and father are at." "But I already took water," Addie said. "Hush up, child," Auntie Lula hissed. "You're a smart girl. Act like you think it's time for the afternoon water. Walk right out to Sam and to your papa and tell them what you heard. If that man really coming for them, it's the one chance they got to run. I'll go back to the dining room. Now you get." Grabbing her bucket, Addie ran to the well. She ran as fast as she could, her bare feet kicking up little puffs of dust, her thick braids beating against her shoulders. "Please don't let him take Papa and Sam. Please, God," she prayed silently as she ran. When Addie came to the well, she filled her bucket. She tried to run with it, but the water splashed crazily over the sides. With less than half of it left, she headed toward the fields, walking as fast as she could. Her throat was dry. "Sam, Papa, where are you at?" she screamed inside. Outside, her eyes desperately searched the huge field. Addie was looking for Sam and Papa and didn't see the overseer until he stepped right into her path. "Hey, girl," he barked. "What you think you're doing?" Addie was so startled she dropped her bucket. "I come to bring the afternoon water," she said. "It ain't time for their afternoon water, you stupid girl. Get on out of here." I thought it was," Addie stammered. "Don't give me back talk," the overseer snarled. Addie felt frantic, but she said nothing more. She picked up her bucket and ran to the kitchen. When she got there, she saw her mother and baby Esther with Auntie Lula. Addie rushed to Mama and threw her arms around her. "Mama, they selling Papa and Sam. I tried to warn them, Mama, I tried," she cried, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. "I know you did," her mother said softly. "Auntie Lula told me." "Master Stevens and that man headed for the barn," Auntie Lula interrupted. "Maybe they got Sam and your papa there." Addie's head jerked up. Maybe there was one last chance. Maybe she could still warn Sam and Papa. Addie raced out the door and headed for the barn. "Addie?" Mama called after her. "Wait!" But Addie did not stop. She was not thinking, not praying, just running, running, running. When she came to the field, she saw a wagon. Sam was in it, bound and gagged, shackled hand and foot. Master Stevens, the man from the dining room, and two other white men as big as Papa were standing next to the wagon. "Sam!" Addie cried out when she reached the wagon. "Oh, please, Master Stevens," Addie begged. "Don't let them take Sam." "Get out of here, Addie," Master Stevens ordered. He had a whip in his hand. Addie stopped where she was. Then she heard a deeper voice. "Addie, go on now." It was her father's voice. But where was he? She looked down and saw him lying on the ground, being chained by the overseer. Papa's face was covered with dirt, but it was calm. She ran to him, falling on the ground next to him. "Oh, Papa, no, no!" She threw her arms around him. He looked up at Addie. "Everything's gonna be all right, honey. You go on," he said. There were no tears on his face, but Addie knew he was crying inside. "Get back, girl," Master Stevens barked. Addie heard his whip crack. She felt a lash of fire on her back as if she had been burned, but she still held on to Papa. Master Stevens growled at her. "I told you to get. Now get before I whip you again." He reached for Addie and yanked her away from Papa. Addie fell backwards into her mother's arms. Mama held Addie close, both of them crying. This time, even Mama couldn't keep the pain hidden inside. Chapter 3. A New Plan. It was late on Friday afternoon, nearly a week after Sam and Papa had been sold. Addie and the other children were warming tobacco plants. They were to work their way down the long rows, turning over every leaf to find the worms and kill them. It was a job Addie hated. She didn't even like looking at the worms. To kill them, she either had to squish them with her hands or squash them under her bare feet. Addie's mind was not on her work. All of her thoughts were about Papa and Sam. "Hey, I got a riddle for you, Sam," she thought to herself. "What's heavy as a full pail of water, but still empty, empty, empty? Give up? It's my heart." She peeled the worms off of some plants, but forgot to look under the leaves of others. When she came to the end of her second row, the overseer came along behind her to check her work. Addie was just starting the next row when she saw the overseer storming toward her. He had his whip in one hand. She turned to run, but he got to her before she could take a step. Addie raised up her hands, thinking he was going to hit her. But he did not hit her. He dropped the whip and pulled Addie's hands down from her face, yanking her toward him. Holding her wrists in one of his large hands, he opened the other hand. Addie saw what he held. Live worms. Worms that Addie had missed. The overseer forced open her mouth and stuffed the still twisting and wiggling worms inside. Addie began choking. "Eat them," the overseer growled. "Chew them up, every last one of them. If you don't, I'll get some more." Addie gagged as the worms' juicy bodies burst in her mouth. "That'll teach you to mind your work," the overseer snapped. He shoved her away. Addie crumpled to the ground as he turned to leave. It was dark when Mama came home to the cabin that night. She had baby Esther on her hip. There was no fire in the hearth. Addie lay curled up on her pallet. Her face, arms, and legs were streaked with dirt. Her feet were covered with mud. "Addie, you awake? Get up, honey," her mother said, lighting a candle and then placing Esther down on the pallet. But Addie did not even look up. "Addie," her mother said in a voice as soft and warm as the glow of the candle. "What happened to you?" She sat down on the edge of Addie's pallet and touched her head gently. Addie opened her eyes. They were red. As she told her mother about what the overseer had done to her, she started to cry. Mama lifted Addie's head onto her lap. I hate them, Mama. I hate white people. Addie sobbed. I don't want you to hate nobody, Mama said, stroking Addie's hair. After a while, she got up to get some water. When she came back, she began washing the tears and dirt from Addie's face. Don't you hate them, Mama? Addie asked. No, I don't hate white people, Mama answered. Honey, if you fill your heart with hate, there ain't gonna be no room for love. Your brother and Papa need us to fill our hearts with love for them, not hate for white people. But Mama, that overseer and Master Stevens, they hate us, Addie said bitterly. Why white people hate us and treat us wrong? Addie, all white people don't hate colored people. Not all of them do us bad. Master Stevens was wrong to sell Sam and Papa and to whip you. But Addie, people can do wrong for such a long time they don't even know what's wrong no more. What's worse is when people hurt each other and don't even care that they're hurting them. Like that overseer. He a mean man. That's what hate do to people. I don't want you to ever be that kind of person. Esther began crying. Addie reached over and handed her rag doll to the baby. Esther quieted down. Addie, there's something I need to talk to you about, Mama said slowly. Something serious. You listening to me? Your papa and me talked about something before Master Stevens sold him and Sam. Papa was worried about the war and times getting hard. Addie knew what her mother was going to say. With all that had happened in the past week, Addie had almost forgotten about the secret she had been keeping. But now she let it out. You and Papa planned for us all to run away, she said. How did you know that? Mama asked. I heard y'all talking one night, Addie answered. I didn't mean to listen, but I couldn't help it. Then you already know we planned to go north, said Mama. Well, we're still going. What about Papa and Sam? Addie asked. Shouldn't we wait for them to come back for us? They ain't coming back here ever again, no matter what, Mama replied. Papa's plan was to go to Philadelphia. He told Sam about it the day after you heard us talking. I aim to stick to that plan. We leaving tomorrow night. Addie looked into her mother's thin face. There were fine lines of worry around her brown eyes. Tomorrow? But what if we get caught? Addie asked, her voice shaking. There ain't no choice, honey. I never thought Master Stevens would break up our family after your papa and me served him our whole life. But I was wrong. Mama shook her head. After what he done, Addie, I can't keep you safe here no more. I'm scared that man who bought Sam and your papa might come back for you. I can't stop him if he do. I ain't gonna sit here and wait for him or anybody to come take you from me. Esther started to cry again, and Addie patted her gently. Then she said, Mama, I'm scared, but I want to go to freedom. Esther wants to go too. She turned to her baby sister. Don't you want to go to freedom, Esther? Addie asked. Don't you want to find Papa and Sam in Philadelphia? Addie, go to my pallet and get what's under it, Mama said. Under Mama's pallet were 2 large kerchiefs and some clothes. They were not clothes for a woman and a girl, but for a man and a boy. Mama, what we gonna do with this? Asked Addie. I'm gonna pack them kerchiefs with some food, a drinking gourd, things like that. We wearin' the clothes, answered Mama. We gonna be disguised? Asked Addie in surprise. They're disguised, but more than that, explained Mama. Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon got them for us. When Master Stevens sent out his dogs after us, it's going to be hard for them to track our smell if we got somebody else's clothes. Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon should come with us, Mama, said Addie. Papa say Uncle Solomon know where the safe house is. They should come to freedom too. They too old to come to freedom, Addie. They can't run, Mama said. They would slow us down. Esther can't run neither, and she coming, Addie said. Mama lowered her head. Addie knew something was wrong. Her mother would not look at her. Then Addie saw tears on her mother's face. "Mama, what's the matter?" Addie asked. "I may as well tell you now, honey," her mother said, her voice slow and sad. "Esther ain't coming with us." Addie could not believe her ears. She must not have heard right. She picked up Esther and held her close. "No, Mama," Addie said. "We ain't leaving Esther." "Addie, did you hear me?" Mama's voice was soft but firm. "Your sister is staying here." "But why? Papa said we was all going," Addie insisted. "Honey, it was different when your papa and Sam was going with us. They could help carry Esther. Now I gotta carry her by myself." "I could help, Mama. Let me help. I could carry her," Addie begged. "Besides," Mama went on, "Esther might cry any time. Her crying would give us away." "I could keep her quiet, Mama. I just know I could," Addie said. "I'd let her hold Janie while we were running." "Addie, Esther can't come," her mother said. Addie hugged Esther again. "This is the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life," Mama went on. "I love Esther as much as I love you and Sam, but we can't take her. Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon is gonna keep her. She's just a baby, so Master Stevens ain't gonna sell her. He can't make no money selling a baby." Addie cradled Esther in her arms, gently rocking her back and forth. The three of them sat quietly for a long time. Then Mama broke the silence. "The war ain't gonna last forever. When it's over, we're gonna get Esther back. Our family will be together again." "Lay down now," Mama said, blowing out the candle. "Mama, can we all sleep together tonight?" Addie asked. "I'd like that," Mama said. Addie, Mama, and Esther crowded onto Addie's pallet. Esther was sandwiched between Addie and Mama. The baby held tight to Janie. Addie moved as close to Esther as she could to feel the baby's warm breath on her face. She put her arms around her tiny sister. Addie tried not to cry, but itchy, hot tears were running down her face, and she didn't bother brushing them away. She felt her mother's arms around both her and the baby. Beyond, from the deeper darkness of the woods, Addie heard a single owl hooting into the night. Chapter 4. Into the Night. The next night, after it was fully dark, with not a streak of orange or red in the sky, Auntie Lula and Uncle Solomon came to Addie's cabin. Addie and her mother were in their disguises, with their kerchiefs packed. The well-worn clothes were baggy on them. Esther was sleeping on Addie's pallet. Uncle Solomon had 2 hats with him. One was a straw hat that he gave Addie's mother. The other, a felt hat, he placed on Addie's head. "Now there's a magic in your hat," Uncle Solomon said to Addie, trying to cheer her up. Addie did not feel like smiling. "Don't you believe that hat got magic?" Uncle Solomon asked. He snapped his fingers near her left ear. "Why, look what's come out of your ear. You must have forgot to wash behind it. Look at this half-dime I found there." He handed the coin to Addie. Addie reached behind her ear. "How'd you do that?" she asked. "Shh," Uncle Solomon said. "It's magic. You hold on to that half-dime. You gonna need it where you going. Freedom cost. You hear me? Freedom's got its cost." "Come on, Solomon, they ain't got all night," Auntie Lula said. "Look here, I got some food and things for you," she said, handing Addie's mother a small sack. Addie's mother put the sack into her kerchief, and then she bent down to pick up Esther. Esther woke and began to fuss. Addie watched Mama as she hugged the baby hard and kissed her over and over. She searched Mama's face for tears, but there weren't any. Not on the outside, at least. Addie kissed Esther too and stroked her head. "Don't worry, Esther. We're coming back for you," she whispered softly as she handed her rag doll to the baby. "You hold on to Janie until I see you again," Addie said. Then her mother gave Esther to Auntie Lula. "We're gonna take good care of Esther. Don't worry," Auntie Lula said, looking into the baby's eyes as she held her. "She's gonna be right here when you come back for her." Uncle Solomon gave Addie and Mama some final advice. "Go fast as you can at night and hide during the day. Every time you see water, go through it. A creek, a river, I don't care if it ain't nothing but a puddle, go through it. That way, you won't hardly leave no scent for the dogs to pick up. And watch out for them Confederate soldiers. They dressed up in gray uniforms. They can be mean as snakes, and if they catch you, they're gonna bring you back to slavery." "God be with you," Auntie Lula said, as Addie and her mother turned to leave the little cabin. Esther began to cry as they slipped out into the damp, warm night and ran into the woods. Addie looked back to catch a final glimpse of her baby sister, but tears blurred her sight. The full moon shone in the eastern sky, looking like a half dime shining in the bottom of a well. At first, the moonlight shone through the tall pines, filling the forest with a silver light. Addie and her mother ran from shadow to shadow like a deer with her fawn. But as they moved deeper into the woods, only a small glimmer of moonlight made its way through the thick branches of the trees. There were dark, eerie shadows everywhere, and it was hard to see. Mama took Addie's hand as they hurried along, stumbling over vines and stumps hidden by the darkness. Addie expected to hear the comforting night sound of the crickets that she had always heard at the cabin, but the deeper they got into the woods, the stranger the sounds became. Owls screeched high in the pines. The wind moaned like a wounded animal. Branches from saplings reached out for her, stinging her face as they slapped against her. A bat swooped down from the trees, its wings beating the air just above their heads. Suddenly, a dark form stirred in the bushes ahead, moving toward them. Addie screamed and froze. Mama jerked up to a stop and clamped her hand over Addie's mouth. "Hush up," her mother whispered sharply. "You can't holler out." The bushes moved again. Addie's heart beat very fast. Bump, 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 bump. Slowly, Mama took her hand away from Addie's mouth. "It's only a possum, or a skunk," she said calmly. Addie let out a sigh of relief. "Mama, I ain't mean to holler," she whispered. "We left Esther behind because her crying might give us away, but I hollered louder than Esther ever could." Addie remembered what her father had said about not always showing your feelings. She would have to learn how to keep them inside sometimes. All through the night, Addie and Mama stumbled through the darkness. They waded through swampy places where their feet were sucked deep into oozing mud. They clawed through prickly vines. The thorns snatched at their clothes and dug into Addie's hands until they bled. Bare roots tore through the tough skin on the soles of Addie's feet. Once, she stubbed her toe on a rock and fell down. But this time, Addie did not cry out. All night long, she and Mama pushed on and on. Just when Addie thought she could not go another step, the sky began to lighten. She could see Mama's face for the first time in hours. It was streaked with dirt. She touched her own face and felt dried blood on her cheek from a cut below her eye. "We better stop soon, Mama," Addie said softly. "It's getting light out, and somebody might see us." "You're right," Mama said. "We need to look for a hiding place." They went a little further and found a small cave. They crawled inside and huddled together, waiting for sleep to come. When they woke up hours later, it was hot. Mosquitoes buzzed around their heads, drawn to the stickiness of their sweaty skin. Addie slapped at them, but it was no use. "You must be hungry," Mama said. Reaching into her bundle, she handed Addie a piece of Auntie Lula's cornbread. It was hard and dry, but it tasted good to Addie. She washed it down with a drink of water from the gourd. When they finished eating, Mama reached into the bundle again. "I got something for you," she said. Addie watched eagerly as Mama opened her hand. In her palm was a small, shiny shell. "I want you to have this," Mama said. "It's something me and your papa have been saving for you. This cowrie shell belonged to Papa's grandma. She was stole from Africa when she was no bigger than you. None of her family was on the ship with her when she came here from across the water. She wore this shell on a necklace. Your papa was going to give it to you when you was older. But I think you should have it now, Addie. Your great-grandma's name was AUDIOBOOK. That name got a meaning where she comes from. It means much loved. I saved her name for you, Addie." Addie was silent for a moment. Then she looked into her mother's gentle brown eyes. "Mama, can I hold the shell tonight?" "Sure you can. I got something special to put it on," her mother said, pulling a leather string out of her bundle. "Mama, that's one of Sam's shoelaces," Addie said. "I wanted you to have something of his, too," her mother said. She pulled the cord through the small hole in one end of the shell, knotted it, and then put it around Addie's neck. "Remember when I told you about the love you need to carry in your heart? It ain't nothing you can touch like this shell. But when you find yourself feeling sad or scared, you dip into that love, Addie. It's a well with no bottom, and it can give you strength and courage." Addie rubbed the shell between her fingers. Its rounded top was smooth as soap. The flat underside was also smooth, except for the middle, where the shell closed in on itself. There it felt like the teeth of a fine comb. "My great-grandma must have been brave to come across the water all alone. I'm gonna be brave, just like she was," Addie said. "She was brave, Addie," Mama answered. "And you brave, too. But there's one thing different about you and your great-grandma. Her journey ended in slavery. Yours, girl, is taking you to freedom." They sat in silence a long time, looking at the cowrie shell and thinking about someone they had never met. Then Addie spoke. "Mama, do you think Esther gonna remember us?" "That ain't easy to say. Babies don't remember much, but I got a feeling Auntie Lula won't let her forget," Mama said. As Addie and Mama settled down in the cave to wait for sunset, Addie pictured Esther back on the plantation. She would be asleep now, curled up with Janey. Maybe she would be thinking about Addie. When night finally came, Addie and Mama started out again. The moon lit their way until they reached the end of the woods, where they saw a flat darkness ahead of them. Then, before they could see water, they heard the rushing sound of it. They had come to a wide river. "This gotta be the river near Gifford Plantation that Papa talked about," Addie whispered. "We gotta cross it," Mama said, her voice sounding scared. "We better stuff our hats and things in our pockets." They stood on the bank of the river for a few moments, afraid to enter the foaming, angry water. Sam had taught Addie how to swim, but this water looked dangerous, and Mama didn't know how to swim at all. Holding tight to each other, they started into the water together. Addie picked her way along the squishy bottom, her feet slipping from the slimy rocks that were stuck in the mud. Once, she tripped on a rock, losing her balance and pulling Mama with her. Addie felt her mother's grip tighten around her and realized again how frightened Mama was. Pulling themselves up, they slowly made their way to the center of the river. There, the current began to pull at them. It lifted them off the bottom and dragged them sideways. Hard as they tried to walk against it, the water was stronger than they were, and they were pushed farther and farther away from the shore. Addie could hear Mama sputter as water filled her mouth and nose. "Mama, keep your head up," Addie yelled as loud as she dared. "Just don't go under." Suddenly, a huge swell of water rushed against them, pulling Mama's hand from Addie's, dragging her away. Addie turned just in time to see her mother disappear beneath the churning water. Addie wanted to scream, but she kept it inside. Instead, she drew in air, filling her lungs, and dove under the water. She struggled against the current, trying to stay close to the place where Mama had disappeared. She couldn't see a thing in the dark water. She felt around for Mama, but she found nothing. Addie's lungs began to burn. She was running out of air. Popping up above the water, she looked around frantically. "Mama!" she called, gulping for air. "Mama, where you at?" Afraid no answer would come, she dove down again. This time she let the current push her while she dragged her arms through the water, searching for her mother. Suddenly, Addie was stopped by a fallen tree under the water. She groped among the branches, but their sharp ends jabbed and poked her. She kicked furiously to get away, when suddenly her foot hit something soft. It was Mama, trapped in the branches. Addie braced herself against a large limb, grabbed Mama, and then pushed off against the tree with all her strength to bring both of them to the surface. Gasping for air, the two struggled to the far shore. Clutching each other, they finally reached the shallows, where the water calmed. Exhausted and breathless, they fell on the riverbank. When Addie could finally talk, she whispered, "Mama, you all right?" "You saved me, Addie," Mama said weakly. "You a brave girl." Addie was shivering as she and her mother got up and slowly made their way into the woods. Their wet clothes stuck to them. Mama had lost her kerchief, and her hat was ripped. Addie pulled her own brown hat from her pocket. Other than being wet, it looked fine. She pulled it down tight on her head and thought, maybe it is a lucky hat. She reached to see if the cowrie shell was still around her neck. It was there, and something else was, too. It felt like a wet leaf. When she peeled it off, Addie realized it was a leech. She shuddered and quietly flicked it away. Addie and her mother traveled for hours before Mama spotted the railroad tracks. Addie had never seen tracks before. They were shining silver, and they pointed the way north to freedom. "These gotta be the tracks your father talked about," Mama whispered. "We gotta be extra careful out here. There ain't hardly a place to hide." They had seen no one since they started their escape, but tracks meant a train could come at any time. Travelers might spot them. They could trust no one. Addie and her mother followed the path of the tracks in the moonlight. When the noises of the night were gone and birds began to fill the air, they found a thick clump of pine trees near a curve in the tracks. Gathering dead branches and brush, they made a shelter and crawled inside. Addie could barely keep her eyes open. She was too tired to slap at the ants that crawled on her legs, or swat at the flies buzzing over her head. She curled up and rested her head on her mother's chest. "I'm real proud of you," Mama whispered, as she gently stroked Addie's hair away from her face. Addie smiled. She could hear her mother's heart beating. It was a soothing sound. Chapter 5. Freedom Taken. A low rumble woke Addie and her mother. Addie thought it sounded like thunder. Then a light appeared far in the distance. Addie could see it moving toward her, getting bigger and bigger. It looked as if the moon had fallen from the sky and was rolling through the tops of the trees. Safe in the darkness, Addie and her mother crept out of their shelter just in time to see something Addie had only heard about. A train! She could make out its shape charging through the darkness. The engine was spitting red sparks, and a ribbon of smoke ran along the length of the train. As it passed along a curve in the tracks, Addie watched its rear light disappear into the distance. But instead of moving away in a straight line, the train turned to the right. Addie was puzzled. Then she understood. The train had turned onto a set of tracks that she could not even see yet. "Mama, we hear," Addie said, a little too loudly. She lowered her voice. "The safe house has to be near the place where the train turned. We did it. We made it, Mama." Addie threw her arms around Mama. "I think you're right," Mama said. "Let's go." Addie and her mother ran hand in hand toward the place where the train had turned. "We're safe now," Addie exclaimed. "We're going to Philadelphia." "We ain't there yet," Mama said sharply. "Hush now." "We're going to see Sam and Papa," Addie went on. "Then we're going to come back for Esther, and the whole family be together again." Addie pictured them all in Philadelphia, living in a beautiful house. "Freedom ain't that easy, girl," warned Mama. "Don't get your hopes too high." But Addie didn't hear her. Spurred on by her thoughts of Philadelphia, she moved faster and faster, pulling away from Mama. Running fast, she felt the cowrie shell beating against her chest. She was going to freedom. It was a long way to the place where the train had turned, but Addie was still running when she saw a small light. It looked like the glow of a lantern. Addie thought it must be the window of the safe house. She raced toward it, her mother far behind. It was not until she was closer that she saw she was wrong. She stopped suddenly. The light was from a small campfire in a clearing near the tracks. A group of men were gathered around it. Addie could see them lying on the ground, sleeping. She was about to turn and run back the other way when she heard a gruff voice call out, "Who's there?" Addie turned. She could see the face of a white man in the light of the fire. He had on a gray jacket and gray pants. He was a Confederate soldier, and he was staring right at her. "Oh, it's you, boy. Bring me some water," the soldier said. Although Addie knew he was looking right at her, she didn't think he was talking to her. He was talking to some boy. But what boy? Just then Addie remembered the disguise. She was the boy. Desperately, Addie looked around. Then she saw a bucket of water. To get to it, she had to walk right through the soldiers' camp. She saw another soldier on the ground stir. He rolled over. What if they all woke up and captured her? Addie lowered her head, touched the cowrie shell briefly, and began to move. Inside she was shaking, but on the outside she was walking straight and strong past the sleeping soldiers. She picked up the bucket and brought it to the soldier. "Train scare you, did it, boy?" the soldier asked. Addie kept her head down and nodded. "You'll get used to it after a while. Get on back to sleep," the soldier said. Addie wanted to rush back into the woods, but she knew she couldn't. She acted as though she belonged in the camp. She walked to the edge of the clearing and lay down. The soldier lay down too, and Addie waited a few minutes until she could hear him snoring. Then, as quietly as she could, Addie crept away from the soldiers and into the woods. "I got to warn Mama," Addie thought. Just when she had gotten far enough away from the camp to start running, someone reached out and grabbed her. It was Mama. She pulled Addie so close to her that Addie could feel the shell pressed between them. Mama held Addie for a long moment, and then led her away. When they were far away from the camp, Mama spoke at last. "I was watching you with them soldiers, Addie, and I was holding my breath the whole time. But you did it, girl. You kept your feelings inside this time. Your papa would be proud of you." They walked further along the tracks until they came to the place where two sets of tracks met and formed a silvery cross. A house stood just beyond the cross, up on a little hill. It was white, with red shutters. Papa had been right. To Addie it seemed that the house was just waiting for them. They did not have to run to it. They only had to walk and knock on the door, where freedom was. It would open to them. Addie and her mother crouched in the shadows, staring at the white house. There was no light from inside. "Why are we waiting?" Addie whispered. "I don't know if it's safe," her mother said. "There might be more of them soldiers around." "It's got to be safe," Addie said. "It's a safe house." "Addie, it ain't that simple," Mama said. "Your papa said a white woman lived there. Them soldiers might be coming in and out of there. I don't trust them." "But Mama, we got to trust the white woman." "If we don't, where we gonna go?" Addie asked. Without answering, Mama took a deep breath and stood, pulling Addie up with her. They slipped out of the shadows and walked to the house. Mama tapped lightly on the door. No answer came. She tapped again, and still there was no answer. Addie looked at her mother's face. It was calm and still. At last, a light glowed in the house. Through a small window, Addie could see the light of a candle move through the dark house. She heard the door being unlatched on the other side. It opened, and an old woman not much taller than Addie stood before them. Her face shone in the light of her candle. "Miss Caroline, can you help us?" Addie asked. Addie saw the woman's face twist into an angry scowl.
"I thought I told you not to come here, boy. Go back and tell those soldiers I won't help them,"
Miss Caroline said. She started to shut the door. Addie stuck her foot into the door to keep it from closing. "We ain't with the soldiers, ma'am," Addie said quickly. "And I ain't no boy." Addie pulled her hat off, revealing her braids. "Me and my mama running away to freedom. Can you help us?" Addie saw the look on the woman's face soften. All the anger washed from it.
"Come in,"
Miss Caroline said. "Please come in." Addie and her mother stepped inside. The woman quickly closed the door behind them and led them into the kitchen.
"My, oh my," Miss Caroline said. "Those are some fine disguises. I thought you were with those Confederate soldiers. They got here yesterday and sent a boy right over to come ask me for food, but I didn't give them a crumb. I don't cotton to those rebels. You must be tired and hungry. I don't have much and nothing fancy, but you're welcome to it. Sit down. I'll start a fire."
Addie and her mother sat watching the woman work. She seemed to be everywhere, starting the fire, dragging a tin tub next to it, heating a large pot of water, putting plates on a small table. "Let us help," Mama said.
"No, you sit and rest. I know you must be tired,"
Miss Caroline said.
"Who sent you here?"
"Uncle Solomon," Addie's mother said. "We trying to get to Philadelphia."
"Oh, Solomon," the woman sighed. "I've known him for over 50 years, since we were both children on farms that were right next to each other."
She served Addie and her mother some rice with boiled greens. Addie felt safe in this small, warm home. While Addie and Mama ate, Miss Caroline left the kitchen. When she returned, she had a bundle of clothes in her arms.
"These clothes I saved for runaways. After your bath, you can find something that fits. You rest here tonight. Then I'll take you to the coast. You can get a ship to Philadelphia from there. We have to leave before sunup, before those soldiers wake in the morning and come back here."
"Thank you so much, ma'am," Addie's mother said. "I wish I could do something for you." Addie went to her bundle and untied it. She took out the half-dime Uncle Solomon had given her and held it out to the woman.
"Oh, I don't want money," Miss Caroline said, "and I don't want you to do anything for me. There's no need to thank me. You both are so brave to have escaped and come so far. It's thanks enough to know I'm helping you to have a new life."
Addie and her mother took long, hot baths. The dirt from their journey melted off them in the warm water. That night, for the first time in their lives, Addie and Mama slept on a real mattress, not one full of itchy corn husks. Addie tried to stay awake so she could think about how good it felt to be clean and safe, but she was too tired. She fell asleep in Mama's arms. Before the sun came up,
Addie, Mama, and Miss Caroline got ready to leave the small white house with the red shutters. Mama was dressed in a brown dress, Addie in a pink one. Addie loved her dress with its wiggly white stripes and buttons running down the front. It was prettier than any she had ever imagined when she dreamed about freedom. Miss Caroline had found a pair of drawers and a straw bonnet that just fit Addie. After Addie tied the ribbon of the hat under her chin, she stood straight and tall for her mother to see. "How I look, Mama?" Addie asked. Mama's eyes filled with tears. "I wish your papa could see you now, child." Outside, Miss Caroline hid Addie and her mother in the back of a wagon and covered them with some old sacks. The wagon rocked gently as it pulled away from the safe house. Addie lay close to her mother. She reached to her neck and felt for the shell. Holding it tightly, she thought of Esther, Sam, Papa, and even her great-grandmother who had come across the water alone. They were with her, all of them. With the deep well of love in her heart, she could feel all of them with her. "Mama, we done it," Addie said softly. "Just like Papa said. We took our freedom."